This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
You're watching ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles, and we're coming to you live from Manila and Thailand. Hello, Gila.
Hello, Alma. Good afternoon. I'm Gila Pablo from EBC Thailand Bureau, bringing you the latest news around the ASEAN dynamic region.
On today's headlines. President Joe Biden urges Congress to pass the Hate Crimes Act.
I urge the House to do the same and send that legislation to my desk, which I will gladly.
Almost every meeting, every talk to the people session would really be.
MECQ stays in NCR plus areas as President Duterte announces new quarantine protocols for May.
Video 2, kapiyo pati kay Albert. Kung bright kayo, bakit nawala?
President Duterte said China is a good friend, but he won't compromise the West Philippine Sea.
No talks until prisoners free. Myanmar's pro-democracy unity government formed to oppose the military junta that seized power nearly 3 months ago. On Wednesday, ruled out talks on the crisis until all political prisoners are released.
Addressing the lawmakers on Wednesday in an airily unfilled U.S. Capitol, President Joe Biden delivered his first address, and he said that he urges the Congress to pass the Anti-Asian Hate Crimes Act. Take a look.
We have a giant opportunity to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice, real justice. And with the plans outlined tonight, we have a real chance to root out systemic racism that plagues America and American lives in other ways. A chance to deliver real equity, good jobs, good schools, affordable housing, clean air, clean water, being able to generate wealth and pass it down to generations because you have an access to purchase a house. Real opportunities in the lives of more Americans, black, white, Latino, Asian Americans, Native Americans. Look, I also want to thank the United States Senate for voting 94-1 to pass the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act to protect Asian American and Pacific Islanders. You acted decisively. You can see on television the viciousness of the hate crimes we've seen over the past year and for too long. I urge the House to do the same and send that legislation to my desk, which I will gladly, anxiously sign.
Metro Manila, Bulacan, Cavite, Laguna, and Rizal will stay under modified enhanced community quarantine for another 2 weeks, but with additional opening of the economy, according to President Duterte on Wednesday night In his Talk to the Nation address, let's listen in.
Almost every meeting, every talk to the people session would really be the continuing rise of COVID cases in the country. We have breached the million mark, and it does not really surprise me. At from a distance, nakikita ako talaga. And every time I see people violating the law, I would just say to whoever is seated next to me, sabihin ko, tignan mo ito, tomorrow there will be a spike again. And true enough. And it will never be an ending story until all Filipinos are vaccinated. There will always be a rise and maybe exponential ang takbo ng COVID sa Pilipinas pag hindi kayo sumunod ng batas. Modified enhanced community quarantine. Modified ito. So medyo strict. NCR, Bulacan, Cavite, Laguna, Rizal, with additional opening of the economy, well, remains to be seen. Region 2, City of Santiago and Isabela, Quirino, Abra. Then yung sa general community quarantine, we have Apayao, Baguio City, Benguet, Ifugao, Kalinga, Mountain Province, in Region 2, it's Cagayan, Isabela. In Region 4, it's Batangas and Quezon. Region 8, Tacloban remains to be the general quality. Iligan, Davao City, and Barn. The rest of the Philippines is the modified general community quarantine. Listen, it's modified general community quarantine. There are two different animals here. Dalawa ito, it's a modified enhanced, modified general. So, let us be clear on that.
The country also reported 935,695 recoveries, or 91.69% of the total cases, 67,769 active cases, and 17,031 deaths. The president said government interventions are necessary to contain COVID-19 as well as to protect the public against the coronavirus. He also reiterated his advice to the public to continue observing the minimum health public standards amid the pandemic. Starting May 1, new curfew hours in Metro Manila will be from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Here's MMDA General Manager Jojo Garcia. Let's take a look.
Muna po, no, kasi nga po nagkaroon kami ng pagpupulong, nagkaroon ng mga rekomendasyon, no, na talagang kailangan i-balance natin ang ekonomiya sa health, no. So nag-present naman po sa amin ng DOH ang NEDA po, nagbigay din kami ng briefing. At based on that, no, alam naman natin, puro experts yung nasa IATF po, no, magagaling po dyan, hindi lang puro sa health, economic din dyan, NITAD, no. So based on that, in-adjust namin yung curfew, no, from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. kahit na paano po makakatulong po doon sa pagtagpo ng ekonomiya. At the same time po, mamamonitor pa rin natin, ano, yung mga nasa kalsada na wala namang kailangan gawin, mapauwi natin sila ng 10 p.m.
Opo. Pero bukod po sa movement ng mga tao sa labas, ang ibig sabihin po ba nito ay kahit ang ibang mga establishments ay papayagan na rin magbukas hanggang alas 10 ng gabi?
Yung mga pinapayagan po ng IATF, ano, naglabas ba po ng guidelines ang DTI dyan. So itong extra 2 hours, malaking bagay po ito. No? Usually, mga 8 p.m. po, before 8, nagsasara na po yung mga establishments. Pagka ginawa natin 10 p.m. yan, kahit pa paano madadagdag sila ng 2 hours at dagdag din ng customers nila yan. Pero of course, yung minimum health protocol, pinapatupad pa rin natin. Kaya nga po yung namungkahi ng ating mga mayors na flexible yung MECQ, meaning nagbukas lang po ng konti, konting-konti ang ating ekonomiya, pero at the same time, nabantayan pa rin natin yung borders ng NCR bubble. Alam naman natin kasi pag tayo nag-GCQ, pwede ka nang tumawid kahit saan, wala nang higpit sa ating mga borders. Unlike kung MECQ tayo at yung ating ibang karating probinsya naka-GCQ or NGCQ, kahit pa paano po makokontrol natin yung borders natin.
President Rodrigo Duterte on Wednesday apologized to the public for extending the more restrictive modified enhanced community quarantine in the capital region. Plus, this after Duterte retained the MECQ status in NCR Plus that covers Metro Manila, Bulacan, Cavite, Laguna, and Rizal until May 14.
Itong sa modified enhanced community quarantine. Ang pakiusap po lang kasi is 2 weeks ang hiningi ng mga medical profession, including the Secretary of Health. His word, mabigat ang salita niya kasi kanyang departamento yan eh. Linya niya yan, kanya yan. So, mga kababayan ko, naghihingi lang ako sa inyo ng paumanhin. I'm sorry that I have to impose a longer itong modified enhanced community kasi kailangan nag-spike may spike ang tumaas yung infections at yung hospital natin puno. Kaya nga sana wang inyong dagdagan, sabi ko na nga, ulitin ko, for those people who do not really care, nari care about whether getting infected or not.
President Rodrigo Duterte on Wednesday night said delay in the delivery of Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccines was due to lack of direct flights from Moscow to Manila. President Duterte said the cold storage requirements of the vaccines also made it hard to transport them since they should be stored with a temperature not exceeding -18 degrees Celsius.
Yung supposed to be po na darating po na Gamaleya na move po ng May 1 dahil po sa mga tinatawag nating logistical challenges kasi because of the restrictions, nagkakaroon po ng problema sa mga flights. Dahil po may connecting po ang flight from Moscow, Doha to Philippines. Kaya talaga pong nahihirapan po kami na ikarga po. Nakita po natin talaga na yung ating COVAX ay nagkaroon po delay because of the acute shortage sa global supply. Pero sa ngayon po, nakusap po si Dr. Rabi Abisinghe na pinipili po talaga nila na magkaroon po tayo ng supply. Particularly po yung COVAX Pfizer. Sir, most likely sir, baka makakuha tayo ng 2,355,210 na COVAX Pfizer by po sir, before the end of June. Hopefully, magkaroon po tayo ng early deliveries dito sa May. And also, yung AstraZeneca, baka magkaroon din po ng COVAX delivery. Yun po ang pinipilit po namin na magkaroon delivery at nagpapasalamat po kami sa Gavi, sa COVAX at saka sa WHO.
Ito yung sinabi ni Secretary Galvez, yung dynamic sa delivery ng mga bakuna. yung sabi na hirap tayo sa mga pagdala. Kasi wala namang eroplano na makuha natin direct Russia, Philippines, China, Philippines. Maraming daanan, it's transshipment. Dito lang hanggang Hong Kong tapos ilipat. So that's why sabi niya, nahihirapan tayo minsan mag-tailor ng saan natin ipadaan sa madaling panahon and that the integrity, yung visa ng bakuna is protected. Yun ang ibig sabihin niya kanina na sabi niya na yung hirap tayo sa baka ninyo din yun naintindihan. Ganun ang ibig sabihin niya.
He said carriers Philippine Airlines and Cebu Pacific have volunteered to transport the vaccines with a direct flight from Moscow to Manila. On top of the initial batch, the Philippines is also expecting 485,000 more doses of Sputnik V. Russia is the first country in the world to grant regulatory approval to a COVID-19 vaccine. Based on human trials of the shot, Russian developers said Sputnik V was found to be 91.4% effective in providing protection from COVID-19.
In other news, Myanmar's military launched air assaults for the second day in a row into rebel-held territory after gunfire was heard from neighboring Thailand, according to a Thai official, as fighting escalates along the border. Now, the Karen National Union, or KNU, one of the most prominent, has been among the junta's most vocal opponents, blasting the junta for violence against anti-coup protesters. Clashes with the military in NUT's territory, or KNU's territory along the eastern border, have increased since February 1, with the junta deploying air assaults last month, the first instance in Karen State in over 20 years. Now, the KNU's 5th Brigade on Tuesday attacked and razed an army base on the banks of the Salween River, which demarcates a border between Thailand and Myanmar, and the military retaliated with air offensives. Now, on Wednesday, gunfire and bomb explosions could once again be heard around 9 a.m. near Myanmar's Dargwin military base, located just north of yesterday's skirmish. It is suspected that Myanmar soldiers opened fire to protect their base, according to a statement from the Sitichai Jindalwang, the governor of Mae Hong Son province, which borders Myanmar's Karen state. 2 Myanmar military airplanes then launched an airstrike and aerial gunfire, followed by rockets fired from helicopters around noon, he said. The governor added that 68 Myanmar residents crossed into Thailand this morning for refuge. And the day before, a 45-year-old Myanmar national had crossed over in the evening after Tuesday's fighting to seek medical help for his wounded wrist. He is now stable. KNU's head of foreign affairs, Padosa Tao Ni, confirmed the air raids but said their soldiers did not attack anything today. He also criticized the junta for launching air assaults on an area where there are civilians.
Myanmar's pro-democracy unity government formed to oppose the military junta that seized power nearly 3 months ago. On Wednesday, ruled out talks on the crisis until all political prisoners are released. According to a report from the Thai PBS World, the pro-democracy national unity government, which includes members of parliament ousted by the coup, said Southeast Asia's regional bloc should be engaging with it as the legitimate representative of the people. I quote, before any constructive dialogue can take place, however, there must be an unconditional release of political prisoners, including President Yu Win-min and State Councilor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, the NUG Prime Minister Man Win Heng Tan said in a statement. There was no immediate comment from any senior officials in ASEAN. President Joko Widodo said after crisis talks with junta chief Min Aung Hlaing and Southeast Asian leaders crisis-hit nation leaders Saturday that Myanmar's military must restore democracy and stop the violence against citizens. He also called for the release of political prisoners and for a special envoy to be allowed into the crisis-hit nation to push for dialogue. Myanmar's junta said Tuesday it would heed regional pleas to stop violence only when the country returns to stability.
Meanwhile, the World Food Programme's Deputy Country Director in Myanmar, Marcus Pryor, said an estimated 3.4 million people could fall into worrying stages of food insecurity over the next 6 months and potentially require assistance. Let's listen in.
3.4 million. It's been a very difficult few months for many people. It's true that there has been significant out-migration from Yangon in particular. But also that many of the factories are currently closed or operating at a very low level, that the port is operating at a very low level as well, and the banking system is semi-paralyzed, and it's not uncommon to see people queuing in long queues simply to have access to cash. And this is also having an impact on people's ability to transfer cash through money transfers, both within Myanmar and coming into Myanmar from abroad. So this all added up to a situation of real concern, and one where WFP has estimated that over the next 6 months, as many as 3.4 million people could fall into worrying stages of food insecurity and potentially require assistance from ourselves or other actors. We've already moved to put in place a contingency stock of food, which will allow us to switch from providing assistance as cash to provide it as food in kind instead, in the case that either market supply of food is no longer sufficient, or, which is one of our major concerns, that the current crisis in the banking sector means that we're unable actually to source the cash in hand to provide those transfers to people in need.
Hanoi Municipal Department of Education and Training has asked the schools to stand ready for online learning if a COVID-19 resurgence occurs. The city ordered teachers and pupils to strictly implement the Ministry of Health's 5K message. Kautang, face mask. Kukwan, disinfection. Kawankek, distance. Kong Tutap, no gathering. And Cowboy Peg, health declaration. On April 25, Minister of Health Nguyen Tan Long warned of a possible fourth wave of COVID-19 as regional countries reported the rapid surge of new cases and many citizens failed to implement the ministry's preventive measures. Competent agencies and local authorities have taken drastic measures to prevent COVID-19 importation and prepared response plans in case the pandemic spreads widely, especially in the southwest region, Nguyen said. On April 26, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh called on authorities and individuals to sustain vigilance and uphold the sense of responsibility amid complex evolution of the COVID-19 pandemic in the world, while he was chairing a meeting on COVID-19 response.
And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Gina and I will be back right after this break.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know in these interesting times. we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced, eagle news, because we live in interesting times.
Ay sakit namang isipin ka'y nagbago. Kay bilis naman muli maging.
Hi guys, ako po si Shay Reyes. Abangan niyo po ako this Sunday, May 2 sa Letters and Music bilang guest performer. Dito lang po sa Net 25.
Thailand's cabinet has granted Premier Prayut Chan-o-cha sweeping new powers aimed at curbing COVID-19 that critics fear could be used as a political tool to suppress dissent. The country is struggling to contain a third wave that has seen a jump of more than 32,000 cases since an outbreak was detected in the capital's nightlife district. Mandatory mask wearing and restrictions on daily life have done little to slow the rising death toll, with Prayut's leadership coming in for criticism for failing to bring the outbreak under control. Thailand has also been slow in vaccinating its population compared to regional neighbors, inoculating just 1.2 million people since its rollout started 2 months ago. On Tuesday, the cabinet passed a resolution transferring the portfolios of several ministers to the premier, placing Prayut in charge of laws ranging from the Arms Control Act to the Computer Crimes Act. The latter is a controversial law critics say broadens the scope of the government's surveillance and censorship powers. A former general WHO mastermind a 2014 coup, Prayut was voted in as premier after 2019 elections administered under a military scripted constitution. Widespread discontent over the silencing of opposition voices, coupled with pandemic-spurred economic losses, later brewed into a pro-democracy protest movement against his government. Analyst Kitipon Pakdi-Wanich said the bill is not entirely about COVID itself. It's meant to be used as a political tool by the government. They want to have absolute power like what they had before. Airline personnel and airport staff get vaccinated at Thailand's biggest airport, Suvarnabhumi, in Bangkok, as the number of new COVID-19 infections with the UK variant surge in the country.
ก็ดีค่ะที่มีโอกาสได้มาฉีดวัคซีนในครั้งนี้ค่ะเพราะว่าพอดีเราทำงานอยู่ในจุดที่แบบต้องเจอผู้คนเยอะด้วยอะค่ะก็เลยคิดว่าถ้ามีโอกาสก็คือได้ฉีดก็ดีค่ะเลือกชิโนแวคค่ะเพราะว่าเท่าที่ศึกษาหรือว่าตามอ่านข่าวดูอะค่ะหรือว่าคุยกับหมอหรืออะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะพบความเสี่ยงค่อนข้างน้อย
Check-in counters of the airport's departure hall have been made into designated areas for vaccinating airports of Thailand employees, government officials, and airline personnel performing duties at the airport. With every few travelers now, the inoculations provided a buzz of activities seldom seen this past year at the airport, which has been hit by a dramatic slump in passengers and air traffic from weaker demand and tighter entry curbs. More than 1,000 doses are administered to immigration officers, airport staff, and airline crew every day at the airport.
Now, here in the country, the Philippine Navy on Monday extended its sympathies to the Indonesian Navy over the loss of its diesel-electric submarine, the KRI, or the Kri Nanggala 402, and the death of the 53 crew members aboard the vessel. With deepest sympathies, I share the grief of the Chief of Staff, Admiral Yudo Margono, and the entire Indonesian Navy, the Tentara Nasional Indonesia Angkatan and Laut, as they recently lost 53 of their gallant sailors aboard the Kri Nanggala 402. Philippine Navy Chief Vice Admiral Giovanni Carlo Bacordo said in a message posted on Facebook. Bacordo said the Indonesian Navy's loss is also a loss of the Philippine Navy, as Indonesia is among the Philippines' strategic partners and a fellow member state in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. He said, "I am to honor the memories of these sailors through the solidarity and sustained friendship with the Indonesian Navy. Carry on, sailors, with your eternal patrol," unquote. The Kri Nanggala and its crew were preparing to conduct a torpedo firing drill when it went missing in the Bali Strait on April 21st. Reports said its wreckage was found at a depth of 850 meters in the waters off the resort island of Bali by a remotely operated underwater vehicle of the Singapore Navy over the weekend.
Various government agencies are now coordinating and patrolling the West Philippine Sea as part of the country's efforts to protect its sovereignty and exercise sovereign rights as stipulated in the Constitution and international law. The Philippine Coast Guard, Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, and Philippine National Police Maritime Group, or PNPMG, are closely coordinating in the continuous regular deployment of vessels in the country's maritime domain for law enforcement, monitoring, ensuring the safety of the Filipino fishermen, and protecting the environment. That's according to National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea. Spokesperson Omar Romero said in a statement Wednesday. The deployment of the BFAR's monitoring, control, and surveillance and multi-mission offshore vessels off Kalayaan will also boost the country's capability to deter illegal fishing, the statement said. Area task forces said it has dedicated naval vessels and military aircraft to conduct sovereignty patrols on a rotational basis over the municipality of Kalayaan, Bajo de Masinloc, and the rest of the western seaboard. However, Romero said the ATFS reported the continued illegal presence of 3 CCG vessels of Bajo de Masinloc, another one of the municipality of Kalayaan, and another one of the Ayungin Shoal. He said, I quote, "These incursions are under review for the possible filing of appropriate diplomatic actions."
To other news now, a prominent Malaysian cartoonist said on Wednesday he was facing a police probe over a satirical drawing that mocked a senior official just days after another artist was arrested. Take a look. Zulkifli Anwar Ulhake, who goes by the pen name Zunar, is being probed over a cartoon he drew in January related to a decision by Kedah State to cancel a holiday to mark a Hindu festival. It showed the state's top politician, a Muslim, using a meat cleaver to smash a table where people from different races were sitting. Officials had defended canceling the holiday, blaming the coronavirus pandemic. Race and religion in Malaysia, which is Muslim majority, but also home to substantial Hindu and other religious and ethnic minorities, are often sensitive. Zunar told AFP he had been summoned for police questioning on Sunday in Kedah and is accused of seeking to incite others to commit crimes and improper internet use. He said it is politically motivated. adding that authorities were increasingly concerned about satirical artists taking aim at them. This is a warning, he said. It will make others fearful. Zunar was repeatedly targeted under the scandal-plagued regime of Najib Razak after drawing cartoons that lampooned the leader and his luxury-loving wife. He was hit with a string of sedition charges, not over his work, rather over comments on Twitter, but these were dropped when Najib lost power in 2018. News of the police probe against him came after leading graphic artist and activist Fahmi Reza was arrested on Friday for allegedly insulting the Queen by posting a satirical playlist on Spotify. Since Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin seized power last year, following the collapse of a reformist administration, authorities have launched a crackdown of critics ranging from journalists to opposition politicians. At least 10 people were killed in a gun battle between police and rebels in Indonesia's restive Papua region, according to authorities, in an apparent retaliation for the execution of a top intelligence chief. The hours-long shootout on Tuesday in remote Puncak district ended with 9 guerrillas and a police officer dead, while 2 more officers were wounded, according to police. Now, police said they believe the dozen-strong rebel faction was responsible for the Sunday slaying of General I. Gusti Putudani Karya Nugraha, who headed Papua's intelligence agency. But rebel group spokesman Sebi Samwam dismissed the report of rebels being killed as a big lie and propaganda. AFP couldn't independently verify the claim by security forces. Conflicting reports are common in Papua, a resource-rich but impoverished island which shares a border with Papua New Guinea just north of Australia, where a low-level insurgency aimed at breaking away from Indonesia has simmered for decades. The spike in tensions comes after Indonesian President Joko Widodo this week ordered security forces to pursue rebels for the general's death. Papuan separatists have claimed responsibility for his killing. Indonesian security forces have for years been dogged by allegations of widespread rights abuses against Papua's ethnic Melanesian population, including extrajudicial killings of activists and peaceful protesters in their efforts to crush the rebel groups. In recent weeks, security forces ramped up military operations in Puncak district after rebel groups killed soldiers and teachers, torching several schools and a helicopter. A former Dutch colony, Papua declared itself independent in 1961, but neighboring Indonesia took control of the region 2 years later with the promise of holding an independence referendum.
President Rodrigo Duterte on Wednesday reassured Filipinos that the Philippine sovereignty rights over the hotly contested West Philippine Sea would not be compromised, even if China is the country's friend.
Okay, Albert, kung bright kayo, bakit nawala ang West Philippine Sea sa atin? Alam mo, ang kabuuan ng they just don't know how. Paper, China, what more could be a more binding order or an international pressure? Di yung tribunal, wala na makatalo sa atin doon. Ayaw nilang sumunod. Tayo naman, we have the decision, but we are at a loss of how to get back physically the West Philippine Sea. Bakit noon kailangan na natin ng Amerikano? Bakit walang barko ng Amerikano pumunta doon para tumulong sa ating Coast Guard? Second, kung nagdating man doon sa panahon na it's a legal tussle between the countries, bakit natalo tayo? Anong ginawa ninyo? Huwag yung arbitrary ruling. Atin man talaga yung, hindi naman kailangan yan. Anong ginawa ninyong nasa gobyerno? Ikaw, Albert, ikaw yung nagsabi sa Navy, umatras kayo. Sinabi nung we will stand our ground. We will not retreat. We will not get out of the West Philippine Sea because it's ours. And we are calling, or at least an offer from the United States to send a flotilla of ships to para to back us up. May mga ano man tayo, may mga, di ba may mga barko tayo din?
Pero Mr. President.
Oh. Ayun. Mayroon tayong dalawang barko. Subukan nila pa. Sabihin ko sa China, we do not want trouble. We do not want war. Pero kung sabihin mo na paalisin mo lang na ano,
He said late Wednesday that while the Philippines is indebted to its good friend China for many things, including free COVID-19 vaccines, his country's claims to the waterway cannot be bargainable. The Philippine Coast Guard is conducting drills near the Tito Island and Scarborough Shoal, as well as the Batanes Islands in the north and the southern and eastern parts of the country. Scarborough, one of the region's richest fishing grounds, has long been a flashpoint between Manila and Beijing. In recent weeks, Manila has boosted sovereignty patrols involving the Navy, Coast Guard, and fisheries in the Spratly Islands, an archipelago contested by several countries. Alma and I will be back after this break.
Salmon!
Tago ka muna. Diyan ka lang, ha?
Ano na nga pala nangyari dun sa lalaking hindi kilala ang sarili niya?
Si Romeo, ho?
Inaalala na ba siya?
Ito, papuntang Talipapa. Nandyan yung barberia ni Bruno.
May ganon pala dito?
Ika lang nga, umuwi na tayo.
Pero magpapagupit pa ako.
Romeo, hindi ka pwede magpagupit!
Bakit?
Oo nga, Maya. Bakit hindi pwede?
Kasi
kailangan niya itago ang mukha niya sa malagong buhok niya. Kaano-ano mo nga pala siya?
higit pa sa kaibigan.
Will you wear my ring?
Welcome back. The Asian Development Bank has raised its growth forecast for developing Asia this year on the rollout of COVID vaccines and the strength of global export demand, but warned that resurgent virus outbreaks threaten the recovery. Now, the lender said China and India are expected to lead the rebound across the vast region, stretching from the Cook Islands in the Pacific to Kazakhstan in Central Asia. The Philippine-based ADB predicted growth of 7.3% compared with its previous forecast in December of 6.8% and a contraction of 0.2% in 2020, but said the recovery would be patchy. The ADB warned that delayed vaccine rollouts could also prolong economic disruptions in the region, where progress varies considerably in getting jabs into the arms. Chief Economist Yasuyuki Sawada said the ADB's upbeat outlook for India, 11% growth after shrinking 8% last year, could be revised as the country battles a huge surge in coronavirus infections. Myanmar also was likely to contract 9.8% this year, the ADB said, as turmoil triggered by the military's ousting of civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi in February disrupted an economy already hit hard by the pandemic. Given the political uncertainty in the Southeast Asian country, the ADB said it would not forecast for 2022. The Philippines, which shriveled by 9.6% in 2020, making it the worst performer in Southeast Asia, is expected to grow 4.5% this year. But the ADB said the recovery would be fragile due to uncertainty over the virus and vaccine supply.
German energy companies are eyeing to partner with local firms to provide renewable energy solutions in off-grid areas. 8 German firms are presenting their technology, particularly for solar, wind, and energy solutions during the German Energy Mission from April 26 to 30.
The Department of Energy, being in the forefront of bilateral trade, the activities of the German-Philippine Chamber have the objective to connect businesses, explore opportunities together, and further strengthen partnerships. We don't only accommodate German delegations to the Philippines, but also support business missions from the Philippines to Germany. This May 17 to 21, for example, we are organizing an outbound mission to Germany. Energy efficiency in residential and commercial buildings utilizing PV hybrid and storage solutions. Of course, this is virtually, and we have a few seats left.
He said German firms have been the country's potential for renewable energy, which can be a solution in off-grid areas. He added that German companies who would like to partner with Philippine firms have unique technology and solutions using photovoltaic, hybrid, and energy storage systems. German firms that are doing the virtual business mission this week include 21st Century Clean Energy, Bay Baterin, D Hybrid Power Systems, Ferntech, IQRON, Craftrec Renewable Power Solutions, TestVolt, and Wolny Consulting. Their business mission is supported by the German Energy Solutions Initiative, an export program of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy that supports German small and medium enterprises expand their businesses across the globe. The last pockets of malaria in Cambodia are found in rural and remote communities where access to malaria testing and treatment services can be difficult. As part of a new focalized aggressive approach, health workers like midwives are taking on new roles to search for undetected cases in order to prevent, test for, and treat the disease.
ចាដោយសារតែកងខ្ញុំក៏គាត់ជាអ្នកផ្ដល់សេវាសុខភាពម្នាក់មានន័យថាគាត់ក៏ធ្លាប់ជាពេទ្យម្នាក់ដែរអញ្ចឹងគាត់ក៏បានលើកទឹកចិត្តខ្ញុំឲ្យខ្លាយទៅជាអ្នកផ្ដល់សេវាសុខភាពថែទាំសុខភាពម្នាក់ដែរ
សម្រាប់ប្រទេសកម្ពុជាយើងសង្ឃឹមថានឹងអាចលុបបំបាត់ជំងឺគ្រុនចាញ់ទាំងស្រុងទូទាំងប្រទេសនៅឆ្នាំ 2025 បាទដោយមានការ សម្រាប់សកម្មភាពជាប្រចាំរបស់កម្មវិធីគ្រុនចាញ់គឺការប្រជុំអ្នកស្ម័គ្រចិត្តព្យាបាលគ្រុនចាញ់រៀងរាល់ខែចុះសហគមន៍ជាមួយនឹងអ្នកស្ម័គ្រចិត្តព្យាបាលគ្រុនចាញ់ដើម្បីរករកអ្នកជំងឺគ្រុនចាញ់តាមភូមិបែបសកម្មដោយការដើរធ្វើតេស្តតាមភូមិជាមួយនឹងអ្នកស្ម័គ្រចិត្ត
លោកគ្រូពេទ្យកញ្ញានឹងណាពេលដែលខ្ញុំក្រុមគ្រួសារកូនខ្ញុំគ្រុន វាប្រឡប់អីនឹងគ្រូពេទ្យបានផ្ដល់ណាំថាគ្រុនចាញ់អាណាមុងលហេកអីទៅអុយគ្រូពេទ្យអុយបដូរមិនទៀតហើយប្រសិនបើយើងអាចលុបបំបាត់គ្រុនចាញ់ចេញពីប្រទេសកម្ពុជាយើងបានប្រជាជនដែលគាត់នៅក្នុងតំបន់រងគ្រោះជាមួយនឹងជំងឺគ្រុនចាញ់ហ្នឹងក៏គាត់អាចមានសុខភាពល្អគាត់អាចមានពេលវេលាគ្រប់គ្រាន់សម្រាប់ការទៅប្រកបមុខរបររបស់គាត់ប្រកបដោយសុវត្ថិភាព
The
Thank you, Gina, for keeping me company.
Thank you also, Alma. Good afternoon to you. And thank you for having me today. And that's it. The latest news around the Southeast Asian nation. I'm Gina Pablo from EBC Thailand Bureau. Please join us again tomorrow because we live in interesting times.
We'll see you back tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Ang Salmon!
Tago ka muna. Diyan ka lang,
Ano na nga pala nangyari dun sa lalaking hindi kilala ang sarili niya?
Si Romeo, ho?
Inaalala na ba siya?
Ito, papuntang Talipapa. Nandyan yung barber yan ni Bruno.
May ganon pala dito?
Ika na nga, umuwi na tayo.
Pero magpapagupit pa ako.
Romeo, hindi ka pwede magpagupit!
Bakit?
Oo nga, Maya. Bakit hindi pwede?
Kasi
kailangan niya itago ang mukha niya sa malagong buhok niya. Kaano-ano mo nga pala siya?
higit pa sa kaibigan.